can't believe I'm creating this video. 2.5 years ago, I had a total hip replacement, and this is how I used the toilet. Hi, I'm Pamela, and in my YouTube channel, I talk all about having a total hip replacement from the patient's point of view, not from the doctor's point of view. In my channel, people respond to my videos by putting comments below the videos. And a lot of the comments that I get are about two sensitive topics. One, using the toilet, and two, that kind of goes hand in hand with that, constipation. So for this video, I'm going to unleash my potty mouth and talk about all of those bathroom habits. First, if you're navigating your own hip replacement, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. I have a whole series of videos that I've already created, plus a whole series of videos that I have planned for the future. If you're curious to know what life might be like on the other side of a hip replacement, tap the bell icon when you subscribe. That way you'll be notified every time I create a new video. I am not a medical professional. I am giving you information based on my personal experience, plus the experiences that people just like you report back to me when they put comments under all of my videos. Of course, anytime you have a question about your health or your hip replacement, be sure that you are talking with your own medical team, because every person is different and instructions your team gives you may be different than the instructions my team gave me. Some of the things that people say to me are, how am I supposed to use a toilet after my total hip replacement? Or, I sleep upstairs and the bathroom's downstairs. How am I supposed to navigate that? Or, like a friend of mine told me that his wife, after her total hip replacement, had a major bowel blowout all through their bed a couple of days after their hip replacement. Those are the types of things people say to me, and those are the types of things that we're going to discuss today. I'll go back to the beginning. My medical team had let me know that before my hip replacement surgery, somebody was going to drop off a walker, and I was instructed to bring the walker with me to the surgical center the morning of surgery. Sure enough, about a week before my surgery, there was a little knock on the door, and a man showed up with my walker. He also had a cane for me, and then he had what he told me was a portable commode. Now, when I saw this thing, I was horrified. Nobody had told me that this thing was going to show up at my house. What I did actually was kind of banished it to one of the back bedrooms because I didn't want to have to take a look at it. And it wasn't really until the day before my surgery that my partner Bill said, "Hey, Pamela, you need to figure out how that thing is going to work for you." So let's take a look at actually how this works. This is the portable commode. I got it out of where it had been banished in purgatory again, back in one of the closets, and I brought it out here to show you how it works. When it was delivered to my house, it actually had a bucket that fit in under this particular seat here. The bucket had a lid, and the intention of the bucket was if you needed to have the portable commode put someplace that was not on top of your toilet, that way you had someplace to make your deposits. For me, because the way my house is arranged, I knew that or at least I hoped, I was going to have enough time to get from my bed to the toilet. Or in the days after my surgery, I hoped I was going to have enough time to be able to get from my couch, where I was watching TV, to the toilet. So I took the bucket out, but what I ended up doing was simply putting the frame of this portable commode right on top of my regular toilet. This actually worked out really, really well for me, because what I ended up doing right from the moment I got home from my surgery was using my walker, which is right here. I would kind of walk her over, if that's the right word, position myself in front of the toilet, put my weight on the walker, my weight on my healthy leg, and then lower myself down into this portable commode. My surgery was an anterior approach, meaning the incision was right here on my hip. So I didn't need to worry about putting any pressure on my butt cheeks. Now, I know if you have the posterior surgery, you're going to have your incision is going to be back here. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. But even though I had the anterior approach, this whole side of my leg in the first couple of days and weeks was really stiff and swollen. But I found what I was able to do was put my weight on the walker and on my healthy leg, then transfer my weight over to the arms of the portable commode, kind of extend my surgical leg and sit back down right on top of the portable commode. I was able to take care of business and then I was good to go. Now, my hope would be for those of you that have the posterior surgery, you may be able to just kind of put your weight on the healthier side of your hip and perhaps work that way. Now, again, I'm not a medical professional, so that may be a question that you want to talk to your medical team before your surgery to be sure if they have any instructions that are a little bit different for you. Now, I did not have a problem wiping myself dry. If that's something that you have concerns about, I realize some people may be a little bit less flexible, or they may have larger bodies. Actually, there is something that's called a toilet aid, which is kind of like a long stick that you put your toilet paper on, and then you can kind of reach behind you with that. That may be something that your medical team can provide to you. If not, I have a link to an example of one sold on Amazon, and I have that link down in the notes below this particular video. The other thing that can be helpful for men is actually having a portable urinal. I don't have an example of one here with me live. Many years ago, when my partner Bill was cycling, he was in a bad crash. He broke his pelvis. And at the hospital where he was admitted, when they were discharging him, they basically handed me this little plastic bottle and said, this is what he can use to pee in the middle of the night. That actually worked out really, really well for him. It was difficult for him to get up and down off of chairs, difficult for him to get in and out of bed. So he was able to kind of fill up that little bottle, put it on the bedside table. In the morning, I would dump it out into the toilet, rinse it out, and we would be good to go. Again, I have one of those linked down below in the show notes to one on Amazon if you just kind of want to see what that looks like. Apparently, they make portable urinals for women. I have never experienced one personally, so if anybody's watching this video, if you know anything more about those, I would love to know how they work. Please put a comment in the comments below this video. As far as getting up off the toilet, I kind of just reversed the whole process. I would put my weight on the arms of the toilet frame, of the portable commode frame here, weight on my healthy foot, and then just kind of push myself up, not putting any weight on my surgical foot, and then transfer my weight over to my walker. In my house, the doorways are actually kind of narrow, and so the walker wouldn't fit through them this way. What I ended up doing was just kind of like scooching myself out through the doorway kind of sideways. So that's how I ended up using the toilet in the days and weeks after my total hip replacement. I actually used this portable commode frame, the way that I have it demonstrated here, for several weeks, even after I was walking pretty darn well, simply because I liked the stability of it, and I liked being able to put my weight on the arms to push myself up off of the toilet. The other topic that we have to talk about now, if we're talking about toilet habits, is constipation. Thanks to Video Magic, I'm now back at my production desk. We're going to talk about constipation and having that first bowel movement. I'm including that in this video because several people have written comments under my videos saying that their first bowel movement was extremely painful. My medical team told me to start taking a stool softener starting from the night before the surgery, going on for 30 days after the surgery. I knew that it was important because when Bill broke his pelvis, the doctor prescribed hardcore pain pills, the opioids, and when I got his prescription filled, The pharmacist walked me straight to the part of the pharmacy where they had the over-the-counter stool softeners and said, if he's taking opioids, he definitely needs to take these too. What I learned is general anesthesia, which is essentially what most of us had for hip replacement, actually temporarily paralyzes our guts, and that can delay the return of normal bowel movements. I never thought about that before, but it makes a lot of sense if kind of all of the rest of our body is essentially paralyzed. Our legs and our arms are paralyzed. It makes sense that our internal organs to some degree would be paralyzed too. Pain medication, those opioids that many of us take after our surgery, I certainly did, those also can slow down the digestive system significantly. And if you're not careful about what you eat and how much water you drink, that can result in hard, dry stools. And that is my guess why people have reported back to me that that first bowel movement that they had was really, really painful. What do we do about that? If you haven't had your hip replacement surgery yet, I would encourage you to stock up on healthy foods that you can eat starting as soon as you get home after your surgery. That's actually what I did. I didn't necessarily do it thinking, oh, that would minimize constipation. I did it thinking that I wanted to give my body the best opportunity of healing the best it possibly could from the day of my surgery. That's why I had a lot of my favorite fruits, veggies, lots and lots of water, starting not from the day of surgery because I was too sick to eat anything that day, but really the very first thing the next morning. I was loading up on those healthy foods. Now, did it help me have a less painful bowel movement after my surgery? I don't know. What I do know is kind of like once everything started going, and it took about 4 days before that first bowel movement for me, but once everything started going between my healthy foods and water that I was drinking, the stool softener, I was perfectly fine. I didn't have any problems with constipation going forward. Regardless of what you're eating, regardless of if you've been taking a stool softener or not, if you have any problems or any discomfort, starting from the very first day you get home after your surgery, don't hesitate to call your doctor's office. That's one of the other things that people report to me in the comments below my videos. They say, oh, I don't want to pester my doctor. Folks, your doctor's team is there to help you have the best possible recovery. If you have a problem, if you have a question, pick up the phone and call the doctor. Don't wait until your next regularly scheduled doctor's appointment. They may be able to give you some advice or give you a different medication that may dramatically help you feel better. This was actually a little bit of an awkward video for me to record. I'd been thinking about it for a very, very long time, and then finally just kind of got my head around the idea that this is a topic that people needed to talk about. I've come to the realization that the more that we talk about these types of awkward things, the better it is for us and the better it is for everybody else. And that's what this YouTube channel is for a community of people that are going through a very similar type experience. If this video helped you feel maybe a little bit more informed, or maybe a little bit less alone with some of the awkward parts of your hip replacement surgery, I would love it if you'd give it a thumbs up. And if you want honest, apparently unfiltered conversations about what life might be like after a total hip replacement, please subscribe to my channel. As I mentioned before, I've got a whole list of videos that I have planned for the future. And if you click the bell icon when you subscribe, that way you'll be notified each and every time I've got a brand new video for you. Thanks for being here today, and I'm rooting for you to have a great recovery.